I think we're just missing Jeff Young.
So Sean, you don't have your normal support crew this time, huh?
Probably not, or not yet. I know Lisa called me this morning and said she had no power at her house, so I don't know. Oh, there she is. So I think her power must have been back on.
There's Jeff. Katie.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do a quick roll call for the record, and I'll start with Jane.
Present.
Paul Smith,
Paul Smith here.
Jeff Young,
Jeff's here.
Craig Meisner,
I am present.
Judy Staley.
I'm here.
Okay. And I'm Janina Lewis from the procurement office, and I'm going to let the Gehring team do their quick roll call and start with Katie, Catherine.
Yes,
Am I
Katie
the only
is
one
with
getting
Gehring Group.
choppy audio? Is everyone else getting choppy audio, or is it just me?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Okay, I'll suffer through it.
Lisa,
Hi, Lisa Nix here.
Sean,
Yep. Good morning, Sean with the Gehring Group.
and do we have Nina this morning?
Good morning. This is Nina.
Finally got the name right. Okay, so again, this is our third meeting to discuss some of the ancillary benefits, life insurance, and we have a couple of other things to wrap up from the Gehring Group. They sent that over. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean to give the presentation of where we are and what we're looking at today.
Great. Well, good morning, everybody. I think we should have a pretty short meeting. Lisa sent you the items yesterday. So I am going to start with life insurance and talk about a couple of the changes very briefly, and then kind of open it up for discussion and see if we can wrap up the life insurance. So with what Lisa sent you, just where my pointer is here, I think you guys have this, but I'll make it a little bigger. The renewal from Hartford was a 12.8%. We did go back to Hartford. If you remember, one of the questions or concerns was that the Hartford basically stopped covering children at age 19. They did agree to take that up to age 26. So that would make that more consistent with the other lines of coverage. They also advised us that their underwriters were not able to come down on the life insurance rate at all. They did come down. They gave us any savings they could, which was they reduced the accidental death and dismemberment, which is a component of that combined rate. So essentially, overall, the increase reduced from a 12.8% to a 7.8% with the Hartford. That's an increase over current spend of about just shy of $3,900. I think as you look to recap, there were some concerns with the limitations on Cigna that I think the committee wasn't comfortable with. So we did leave them on the spreadsheet. But I think really, if you look at the choice today, Standard has the most comparable benefit offering. This is actually really the same benefit. They're saying age 25. They're saying up to age 26. That should really essentially play out the same in actuality. Standard is a rate pass. So there's a savings there of about $3,800. If we go on to the supplemental life, the big difference with standard is they're giving 100,000 of guaranteed issue on that voluntary life. Your current with Hartford is only 50,000. So there's an enhancement there. And they're matching the rates between those two. And what we had then is we have the long-term disability with Hartford. There's an increase of 5,700. Standard, it would be a 21% increase, which is basically another $1,100. So what I'm fast forwarding to is really what Lisa put together here, which is when you add all those lines of coverage together, you have an increase of $9,500 with the Hartford, $6,800 with the standard. So not quite $3,000 of savings in that. I think Hartford does a great job for you currently. I think Standard would do a great job as well. They're both fantastic companies, and we wouldn't have concerns with you being insured with either one of them. So with that, I thought before we go on to the vision that we'd see if there's any questions or discussion on the life and disability insurances.
Sean, it's Jane here. Can you go back over that, the Hartford AD&D?
As far as the rate reduction, Jane?
Yes.
Yeah. So what Hartford did, if you look, here's your current life rate, which is 18 cents. They proposed raising that to 21 cents. They left that the same. Your current accidental death and dismemberment, or AD&D, is an additional 3 cents. So those really get added together. They reduced that by 0.7 cents. So that generated the savings between the 12.8 and the 7.8. So that was what they were able to change. And then they gave that enhancement of essentially where everybody else was with that coverage.
Okay, thank you. I want to toss out something that for food for thought. If we go to that back page, I think that changing from Hartford to Standard and saving $2,700 and change, in my mind, isn't worth the aggravation. Can you explain to the committee how you would go about rolling everybody or mapping everybody or whatever we would have to do to change to Standard?
Yeah, so overall, it's a fairly easy transition. It's largely done by files on the back end. You provide that data of what everybody has and where they are. For somebody that is currently on disability, as an example, with the Hartford, they will stay on disability with the Hartford.
Yeah.
And then, assuming they come back to work and they get out of, there's some recurrent periods and all that, they're back to work for a year, let's say, and then they have disability again, then it would be covered with the Standard. It wouldn't revert back to the Hartford. Overall, in the grand scheme of the benefits program, the less than $3,000 is not a lot. So that's really more a question on how the city's philosophy is kind of based on, amount of time it's going to take on finance, on HR, on some of those things to get those changed. Overall company-wise, they're both fantastic companies. And, I think you'd be I wouldn't have any concerns with you being insured with either one of them. It's really a question of, is it worth the disruption for you for, less than $3,000? If it was $30,000, I would absolutely tell you, make the change right now. But it is a pretty small margin in that regard. So I think that's where it's really a city discussion in that option.
Any comments from committee members?
I'd say one small thing also tilting it in that favor, Jane, is it is 1 year less of eligibility. And I can tell you with grown children having a little difficulty in the job market, every year helps. So 26 versus 25, am I reading that right?
It's probably through age 25, I would assume.
Yeah. Whereas the Hartford is 26, it's like one more year of eligibility.
Yes,
Okay.
Hartford did confirm that it was through age 26.
I'm comfortable with the changes that they made when you went back and negotiated with them and continuing with the Hartford.
Okay. That would be my opinion too.
If you're only talking about saving $3,000 for the amount of staff time and everything else it would take, you'd probably be at a loss after that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Craig, any comments?
No, I mean, it doesn't really, it's really on your staff and what you would have to do to make that change. I don't know what the cost factor's in. So, I mean, it's $3,000 and it's just a matter of whether or not that's enough for it to be worth making the change or not. And unfortunately, I wouldn't know whether or not that's enough or not to make the switch.
Jane, how many people are currently using it?
I'm sorry?
How many people are currently using any of this, the disability?
We have one right now that's been out since 2014 on mutual, and that's probably why they didn't bid this time because he is disabled forever. So.
But nobody using Hartford right now.
No, not that I'm aware of. Now, the Hartford's had a couple of claims, life claims, but they've been actually faster than Standard used to be with paying the claims. They're very good to work with.
I would recommend you use that, Jane. I would support what you're suggesting. I don't know that this board would agree that $3,000 isn't very much money in staff time. I wouldn't use that argument. I'd use the one of good claims experience and, but I support staying with the Hartford with the renegotiation.
Okay.
Janina, do you need anything else on that, or is that good for what you need?
No, I think we just need the committee to, if they're good with staying with Hartford, then we'll just press on and we'll present Hartford to the board.
Okay. All right. So we will move on to vision. As you all know, there were some enhancements that were attractive with some of the alternative carriers, but obviously the financial impact was not substantial. So the one thing with vision, especially, IMED, but most of them, so vision plans are largely a pre-filed plan with the state. So they operate kind of on, okay, do you want this plan? Do you want this one? Instead of just customizing. So what we did was we got a couple of different options from them to take a look at. So obviously, again, vision is voluntary. So they give us a couple options. I'll walk through them maybe first and just to explain the differences and then tell you kind of a couple of the thoughts we had on that. So the first option, they gave, they guaranteed the rates until 2025, so they would be locked in. What would change on this plan is there's a $10 instead of a $20 copay for lenses, whether it's single, bifocal, trifocal, lenticular, and then standard progressive lenses went down the cost share by $10. So essentially now, if you go in and you need those things, instead of paying the $20 you're paying now, you would pay $10. So the premium change for that is, taking it on an individual basis is 36 cents a month. So they're going to pay about, let's even round it up. It's not quite $4 a year, or well, hold on, let me do my math just to make sure. 36 times 12, $4.32 a year. So they're gonna, all they have to do is get one of these things and the change is paid for itself. So that would be the enhancement on that plan. The second plan, alternate 2, most of the benefits stay largely unchanged. However, you would get a $150 allowance towards either frames or contacts. So essentially, if you get $200 in contacts a year right now, they give you $130 and they give you 20% off, that extra 70. Now you would get 150 and then 20% off the balance. So you're getting a $30 extra benefit if you kind of max that out, and you're paying 72 cents more a month for that coverage. So the benefits kind of pay for themselves. Now, the one that I think is a little bit less attractive is alternate 3. All that does is changes the frame allowance to every 12 months. I think for a lot of people, maybe it'd be nice for a year or two, but I think over a 5-year period, I don't think most people are getting 5 pairs of glasses in a 5-year period, as an example. So, I think with alternate 3, you're paying for a benefit that candidly not many people are going to get the use out of that. So I really think the most attractive are alternate 1 or 2. I think if you ask me, I like alternate 1 for the extra 36 cents a month as a single employee, going to that $10 copay. But I think you could make a very strong argument as well to potentially not change it. It's really, I'll kind of open it up to the committee. We're talking such small dollar amounts. I think that's really more where you guys feel, based on any employee feedback, you might want to place that benefit.
Sean, up until a few months ago, they were paying, a single person was paying $696 a month. So for them to pay $595 for alternate 1 is still even though it's less than what they're, how do I put it? The change, they're not going to notice it as much because they've already been paying higher amounts.
Yep.
They've gotten used to the $559, so I don't think going up to the $595 would really be a problem for an employee, particularly with that copay.
I agree. Anything we can move towards less out of pocket each time you use it, I think is going to be more agreeable, especially if it's at a price level that's pretty close to what we're paying now.
Yeah, and I'll tell you guys, alternate 1 and 2. So I'm looking. I see 2 of you in glasses. I wear glasses and contacts. So let me give you my kind of personal thought, but so maybe if this helps you think of the population in general. As a contact lens wearer, I'd rather have alternate 2, because I'm getting $20 more, and I get glasses maybe every 3 to 5 years. So this $10 doesn't really save me anything. Now, the one thing I like about alternate 2 is even if you're a glasses wearer, although you're going to pay $20 for the lenses, you're going to get $20 more towards your frames. And what I do know is everybody is probably going to exhaust that frame allowance on a pair of frames these days because they're expensive.
Mhm.
So I think, the only thing I would say between the two, although alternate 2 is a little bit more expensive, my personal gut is alternate 2 will benefit a broader portion of the population probably than alternate 1. I think either of them are good choices. I just think at the end of the day, you're gonna have a positive impact on more people with alternate 2 because it gives everybody that wears contacts or glasses kind of an equal benefit, where alternate 1 sort of discriminates in favor of the glasses wearers only. So that would be my only insight on the 2 of those different options. Oh, Paul, had to do it to me, right?
So Jane, are the current rate amounts here not correct?
Yes, yes, they are.
Then I misunderstood what you said.
Okay,
So Judy,
few
when
months-
we went to,
Yeah.
do you want me to jump in, Jane?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, Judy, when we entered into our contract with the city, it was a flat fee. And I don't remember who, but there were commissions built into the iMed platform that was being paid, I want to say to like American Fidelity.
Correct,
Jane,
You're
is-
probably right, yes.
correct.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
for some reason they were getting a commission on that. So we removed that commission, so the employees got that reduced rate when that was taken out.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Because yes, American Fidelity was selling this.
Mhm.
You went in for your renewal with them.
Yeah, so we pulled that out of it, so that's why there was a savings there.
Okay.
And Jane, do you remember what month we did that? It was
No.
it was mid-year though,
Yeah.
because by the time we got the contract and found out it was in there.
Yeah,
That
was
was
it
it-
like February or March?
I think
Uh-huh.
the effective date was April 1st when we finally had the commission removed and had your
think
bill
you're right.
updated.
Yeah,
To me, alternate as a glasses wearer really only, to me, the alternate 2 is much a better savings. So
mm-hmm. I would have to agree. No,
and
especially
you're gonna get your $20 back on your
on your, yeah,
on your lenses in your frames, so you don't get one without the other.
that's true. And I like Sean's comment that it'll benefit more people. And I think that's important.
Yeah, that's the expertise we need. I didn't even think of that.
You know, they're paying for it, so I believe they should get the best benefit they can for their money.
But if they're only buying 1 pair of glasses a year, Sean, and it's costing an additional, what, about a little over $37 a year for this, is there that much of a difference between the renewal rate and alternate 2? Is the individual going to save that much?
I want to make sure I follow Jeff. I was trying to figure out the 37. Where were you?
So the cost difference weekly from $5.59 a week to $6.31 for the individual
Oh no, that's for the whole
That's
month.
per month.
per month. Oh, not weekly. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So, all right.
Yeah.
And I think the other point is you get contacts a lot more often than glasses. So that $150
Yeah, that's true.
balance is going to be benefiting you every year.
True.
Yeah,
So I'm in
definitely.
support of alternate two.
I'll just make a side note, sometimes people complain, oh, vision insurance isn't that good. Well, if you think about $6 a month, you pay about $72 a year and you get $150 benefit, guaranteed. That's not bad at the end of the day.
True.
Most people pay a lot more into that in medical and never get anything back.
No kidding.
I could support alternate two.
This is 100% employee paid, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I would definitely support alternate two. I mean, it's a negligible cost really if you
Mhm.
look at it.
Yep.
Any objections from anybody on going with alternate two?
No,
Oh,
Okay, we're good.
Yeah. Cobra.
Janina, is there anything else we need to cover?
Does the committee want to discuss the Cobra that we had demos on for HR? I'd like to kind of compare them. Sean, if you could kind of go over, I looked at the pricing and I kind of plugged in some numbers from a year ago, not this current fiscal year, but last fiscal year. And it looks as though the benefits workshop and the P&A costs were about the same. Do you have, as our consulting experts, do you have a recommendation of one company over the other? Because in my mind, they were quite similar. I kind of give somebody in Jacksonville rather than Buffalo, but
Yeah, so let me first off say I think they're both fantastic companies. Lisa and Nina, can I maybe turn this part a little bit over to you guys, either one of you to jump in there as far as the demos and everything to see? Any other thoughts you have on that?
Well, this is Lisa. So Benefits Workshop is, yes, they're located in Jacksonville. They have like a flat rate per month. So there's no surprises with that. With Benefits Workshop, they do try to keep it very simple, very easy. There's not a lot of fanfare. It's just basic COBRA administration. With P&A Group, they handle it a little bit differently. They charge based on utilization. So each time you have like a new hire or a termination, they would process it and that's how you would be charged. So there is a benefit to having on something on that nature. If you have very, very low turnover or low turnover, then there is some cost savings in it. You're only charged when you actually utilize it. Again, both companies do all the lines, your medical, dental, vision, EAP, FSA, and all of that for your COBRA administration. So they're all very simple. One of the things that's different with P&A Group, they have more of a online system. So if your administration and your employees want to go online and make those payments, with a mobile app or even a type of, online system, that's where P&A Group would be a little bit over Benefits Workshop. But if that's not really an important feature and you don't really have, that type of need, then Benefits Workshop is a little bit more simple. Both of them are really good companies.
Okay.
Both interact with Bentech. They both will accept, interfaces with PNA. It's more of an EDI. With Benefits Workshop, it's just having a file sent. So, I mean, they're both really good companies. They have good customer service. I know, Nina has worked with both of them. So,
Yeah,
I'm
and
more
I'll
on the
just say,
front
I mean,
end.
so Garing Group, with our contract with the city is covering the cost of the service. We don't take on the liability of being a COBRA administrator, but we provide that. So, that the cost impact to the city is zero either way. It's really if you or the team or staff had any comfort with one or the other. I think if you want, Lisa, if you want the lowest, I don't want to say hassle because that's not the right word, but I think the lowest burden overall on kind of staff time, I think Benefits Workshop has a slight edge because they take a very simple file. They don't require a lot of complex EDI setup and all of that. So if you really want kind of the ease and simplicity, I would say that Benefits Workshop would be the selection there.
And this is Nina. If I could just interject one thing too, like Lisa said, with Benefits Workshop, it's predictable. With PNA, it's per occurrence, so it's hard to predict the future. But also being a small town girl, I think I really appreciate the personal service. I mean, both of them are reputable, both of them are responsible. But yeah, as you said, he's from Jacksonville. And when there is a question, I've had to reach out as a consumer to Benefits Workshop because that's who we use. And they are very helpful. They take the time to spend with you. They follow up with you. And so I really do appreciate that service side of things.
The one thing that came up in our discussions or our demo, particularly yesterday, was the fact that we might want to do a COBRA notice to all of our employees just to make sure that we haven't missed anybody in the past. And I can't make a guarantee that we haven't. Benefits Workshop would do it as part of their services with no extra charge. But I think the PNA was like $325 an employee. Not that that makes a difference, but I really think that we need to send out that COBRA notice to make sure that we don't get caught. We recently, as I explained before, were sued by an ex-employee, and had we not been able to prove them wrong, we would have had to have paid them $12,500. So I do think it's important that we cover all our bases. We're starting afresh. Make sure everyone gets that notice so they can't say down the road, oh, I never got that. We do make them sign off, but there are a lot of employees that have been here for many, many years. I'm not too sure that the records are all that good. So that's the only comment I have. I kind of like Benefits Workshop because of their simplicity. That's just a comment that I have. So, but Janina, if Garing is paying for it, does it really even need to go to the board?
That's a question I need to find out because I'm assuming since it's covered under the cost of their contract, I wouldn't think we'd have to mention it.
Okay.
But I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
And Janina, just when you're checking, the only thing, so you may still have to have a agreement or contract with Benefits Workshop that'll just state that we cover the cost of it. So I know sometimes with different groups that may make a decision of whether or not it still needs to go to the board because you guys have to, ultimately sign that contract. So just as you're asking that question, maybe keep that in mind as one possible consideration.
While we have this group together, would it be a good idea to get the committee to approve that option, whether or not it goes to the board?
Yeah, we can do that. If you guys want to include it in the whole package, I'm fine with that. We just mentioned that we're going to make the switch to the benefits workshop. It's covered by Garing administratively. It's already been awarded through costs of the contract we have with them. We can just press on like that.
Sounds like a plan.
I would support that.
So would I.
Good with that?
Fine with me.
Okay. Okay, any other, I think the only other one we decided to not do at this time was the short term. We were gonna leave that alone until we get a way ahead with the COVID-19. Is that correct, Jane?
Yes, I believe so. All of those voluntary benefits offered by our American Fidelity. With the option of changing down the road as soon as possible.
Okay.
Hey, Jane, has there been any discussion or talk if we do eventually change or whatever with the American Fidelity stuff, the actual, those added benefits or whatever about the like flex spending and stuff, about the actual card? Has the city made any determination? Every other city in the planet is using cards for flex spending. The fact that our city isn't is weird, but I'm just curious.
American Fidelity is no longer pushing it. I think they had a problem at one point. And unless they will accept full liability, the city administration is not prepared to issue or to approve a card reimbursement. That's been the traditional stance. Now, maybe if somebody at the Garing Group knows more about the card program.
So we definitely know a lot about it. I think Jane, this is the first time I've kind of heard that comment as we've been vetting through everything. So maybe it would be beneficial for us to have a side conversation, and even if we need to circle back about the cards, because I'm not sure. I think I want to make sure I understand what prior concerns have come up about the card, and understand if it's something specific to American Fidelity's contract. Because I will say, in line with what Craig said, almost all of our groups do have a card, and I've never heard that, but I will tell the committee as a whole, I've seen some very unique things in American Fidelity's contract that we don't see with some of the other contracts. So I don't know if there's a specific item with that. I also, American Fidelity sells the, as Jane likes to refer to it, the abscondment insurance, which covers the liability if somebody spends that money before they've made the contributions. And we just got some info on that the other day. And what I would like to do is sort of put together a financial analysis of, is that insurance justifying its premium, so to speak, because I think we determined it's a little over $1 an employee a month. Is that right?
Yes.
So, $12 to $14 a year multiplied by the number of employees. What I'd like to look at is how much have you paid in premiums for that coverage over the last 5 years versus how much have employees spent, before they contributed and kind of ran off with, to see, is that as valid of a concern as I think some people think it may be. And I don't know the answer to that, but I want to make sure you're not paying $1,000 and over the last 5 years, people have only run off with $250 a year. It's not not a good investment if that's the case, but it could be the opposite. And you paid $1,000 and it saved you 3,000 or 4,000. So that's what we want to look at in a little more detail. And I think, Craig, what I can do is get with Jane, you know, after this call or later today, or based on schedules, and understand what's being referred to with the city's concern on liability there. And then I don't know if that means getting the committee back together, but I think we can definitely either Jane or I could follow up with you based on when we get a further look into some of that info.
Yeah.
Where was
Sean?
the liability on the city? It's a contract agreement between the employee and American Fidelity, and it's taken out of your check ahead of time, and you could use up those expenditures before you contribute all the way, whether it's a card or how we do it right now. It's just more convenient having a card.
Yeah, it sounds to me, Jeff, with the little bit I know, it sounds like I think those things are two different issues.
Yes.
It sounds
they
like
are.
maybe there's a liability or that, you know, is in a contract or something with actually the cards themselves. I think the city is comfortable on the quote unquote, you know, abscondment because you do have the coverage. So I think they're two separate issues. So I'll get with Jane after and kind of get more of the specifics on what's caused those concerns.
I can explain it right now.
Okay.
Basically, American Fidelity pushed that card very hard for a few years. The condition that was set on it, on the acceptance of the card, was the city manager wanted to make sure that the city would not be liable if the card was misused. We went back to American Fidelity and they would not guarantee that. So that's why the city has never had the card put in place, because apparently there must be something somewhere that says ultimately the city's responsible for misuse of that card for things that are not eligible. That's the rationale. That's the only rationale I can think of right now.
Okay.
Because of the liability.
So, and I think just hearing that, I need to see their actual contract in their language.
Okay.
Because that sounds, I mean, there's always, the city's on the hook for the amount of money that they say they're on the hook for is the way it should work. You know, I mean, as an example, if somebody goes and buys a car on the card, granted, it wouldn't be a very nice car with the cap, you know, that really should be on the administrator. You know, if there's a expense that's not eligible, that should be on the administrator. So I want to see the contract language. I mean, where I could see liability on the city is if you put somebody on the plan that didn't elect it, you know, and then that was the city's mistake, then I could understand that part. But as far as I've got eligible participant A on the plan and they go spend it on something they're not supposed to, I mean, that's really supposed to be denied. And if it is inappropriate, the administrator in most cases has the liability to go back after the participant. So we'll look at their contract and we'll get some more info and go from there.
Okay.
Okay, I think that was it for today's meeting. Is that right, Sean? We don't have anything else left?
No, Lisa, that was everything, right? I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Forget a lot. I forget a lot this time of year.
No, that's everything on the list.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you,
Okay.
Jerry and team,
Thank
for
you.
navigating us through this. Couldn't have done it without you. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank y'all for being
Absolutely.
such an engaged committee. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll have to-
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next board then is I don't have a calendar. It's
11th of August.
Yeah.
August 11th.
So we're gonna try and shoot for that board. Is that correct, Jane? Okay, so we'll need the Garing backup information, the background memo, and then I'll put my piece together and we'll be ready to go.
We can do that.
What date do you need all of the information for that meeting?
Judy?
It will be the Thursday prior, which would be August the 6th.
Okay.
Okay, write that down.
Okay.
And then
Are there any other?
I guess need to make sure that the appropriate people from Gearing are invited on the commission's Zoom meeting
Okay.
in case there are any questions that
Yes,
need to be addressed from the commission.
that would be a good idea. I'm sure they'll have lots of questions.
Are you all still with virtual meetings?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank
Okay,
you very
thank you.
much.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great day.